for the coolant flush on my 12 valve, I'm using some CarQuest antifreeze as well as distilled water to mix with it. For a 12 valve, you want to make sure that the antifreeze or coolant you're using contains ethylene glycol. Also, you'll be needing a pair of pliers to drain the old antifreeze out of your truck. As you can see, I've already drained out coolant from the truck. I got about 10 gallons out already. So this is going to be the third drain of the radiator. It's on the driver's side, underneath, up near the frame. There's a little petcock over there, and you're going to use the pair of pliers to pull and twist to loosen it. Be careful and make sure you have a drain pan or bucket underneath. After you loosen the petcock and start draining the fluid into a bucket or drain pan, to make things go a little faster, you can come up here to the radiator cap, make sure it's cool to the touch, and carefully open this, and this will speed things up as far as draining. You can hear how the water picked up speed. You can also squeeze the radiator hose a little bit, and that does a little bit for speeding things up, but definitely have that cap off or loose. On a 12 valve, your coolant reservoir jug will not drain out, even with the petcock open. So what you got to do is come over here with your pliers, grab this clamp down here, loosen that off, pull the hose off this, and then you're going to pull up and pop this coolant jug out of the tabs carefully without spilling, and then you're going to dump this out, and you're going to clean the inside of this thoroughly, and then after it's cleaned out, you can reinstall it and fill it up to the proper line with antifreeze. Grab the reservoir, pull up and then out, and the whole thing will come right out. Dump out the reservoir, and you can use a hose to clean out the inside. Try to get as much of the gunk out as you can. Also, make sure that you recycle this antifreeze. You can bring it to your local auto parts store and they'll take it. To reinstall the reservoir, look at this tab, and there's another tab up right here. Line these up in the radiator shroud points, top and bottom, and then slide down, and it should snap into place. Once that's done, you can reconnect the hose and clamp above. As you can see, the hose is reconnected with the clamp back on. Now I can fill this back up with antifreeze. Full line's here, and then the low or add line is down here, so make sure it's somewhere in between. Make sure if you're using a full concentrate that you add water, and not just any water. Make sure it's distilled water. That way there's no ions or other impurities in it. Once all or most of it's drained out from the truck or whatever vehicle you're using, you can retighten the petcock on the bottom of the radiator. I suggest being careful while doing this because it is plastic, so take your time and don't rush and carefully tighten it. So I just tightened up the petcock. This was my first flush. You can see all the contaminants, the rust and whatnot, how nasty it is. Second flush and third flush. Third flush is pretty clear and clean. So now I will be filling the truck up with distilled water and the correct proportion of antifreeze. I just topped off my reservoir. As you can see, it's on the full line. So now I can pull out the funnel and reconnect the cap here. Snapped on tight. Now I can refill my radiator. After you fill up your reservoir and you're onto your radiator, if the fluid won't go down, you can come over and burp the system by squeezing that radiator hose. Sometimes that will lower the level for you. If not, you could start up the vehicle, rev it some, and then fill as needed. Don't forget to replace that radiator cap before you go for a drive. I secured the cap back on. I had to start up my truck, give it a few revs to get the level of fluid situated correctly in the radiator. Once I did that, I replaced the cap, and now I'm ready to go. Like I said, this was my final flush, so I put antifreeze back into my system. If this is your second, first, or not your final flush, you can use just distilled water or water and top off both your radiator and reservoir. Go for a spin. I would crank up the heat full blast and get your truck up to operating temperature. Do this a couple times and then drain it. And if you do that 2 or 3 times, you'll have a sufficient flush for your vehicle. So that's pretty much it, guys. I filled everything up. And remember, this is a quick flush video of my radiator. I didn't take my thermostat out and truly do a complete flush of the system, but this is the best I can do for now. If this helps, drop a thumbs up. If you have any comments or any questions, leave those down in the comment section for me to answer. And that's pretty much it. Have a great day and take care.